All right. So, Lawrence, you got the video up?
Yes.
All good to go? Okay. So, we are going to play a game today. It's game/activity. Hi, welcome. We're going to play a short game/activity today. It's called Deaf Culture, Fact, or Cap. I don't know how many of you guys know what that means. It's totally okay. Cap is basically false. So it's myth or fact, basically. But y'all know the new hip lingo nowadays is definitely geared towards cap, so that's what I use with my students. That's what's on this PowerPoint. So what's going to happen, go ahead and click next, Lords. What's going to happen is I'm going to show a statement. It could be fact, or it could be cap, or a myth. We don't have a fact or cap indicator. If y'all want, you can either put in the text and be like, that's cap, or I think that's cap, or fake, or whatever, and just type out what you think. Or if you have your video on, you can turn like, yeah, I think that's true, or nah, that can't be right. That kind of thing. Sound good? This is all that I have planned for today. I'm really sorry, but it is a long one, and it has a lot of information that I think is really, really important for you guys to know. So, we ready to go? Okay. Let's go ahead and start. So, we're going to start with an easy one. ASL is universal. Oh, how'd you do that? I don't even know how you did that. Somebody, who was it? Asha, you're putting like thumbs down. I don't know how you're. Oh, I see it. Never mind.
Okay, so yes, yeah.
That's so smart. Hit the reaction. Okay, yes, that's perfect. Perfect. Yes, you are all correct. Go ahead and hit the next. This is not true. ASL is not universal. ASL stands for American Sign Language. In fact, for every single spoken language that there exists on this whole big planet that we have, there is a signed version of that language. Not only that, but there are specific dialects regional to specific areas or cities, towns, states, that kind of thing. So I think I mentioned it before. Down here in Onsteora, where we are, we have even an accent. We have a different way of signing than people up north do. Typically down here we have like a southern drawl kind of thing to our signs, whereas people up north, especially near Gallaudet, the only deaf university in the world, they have very, very quick signs. So there's tons of different things, and plus there's also BASL, which is Black American Sign Language, which is a whole other thing in itself. It originated from segregation and growing up in two different deaf communities, but that's another lesson we'll save for later. Go ahead and click next. All deaf people can read lips. Okay. Nice. This is cap. Oh, I think you skipped like a ton.
Oh, whoops. What just happened?
Hit there. There you go. There we go. All right. You all are correct. Not all deaf people can read lips. Although some deaf people are able to lip read, only 30% of English is clearly visible on the lips. Lip reading should never, ever, ever, and I'm going to emphasize that, ever be relied upon for effective communication. Whenever lip reading is exhausting for the deaf community. Can you imagine how many people come up to them like every day and go, you're deaf? Oh, can you read my lips? Not anymore. No, that is not how that works. In fact, I don't know if this is in here later or not. There's a few of these facts that I want to drop, and I'm not sure if it's later in the PowerPoint, if I should save it. I always forget, but I'm going to say it anyways. Only, I want to say 30% of English is actually visible on the lips, which means that everything else is like it completely goes over your head. Have y'all ever seen, what is it, bad lip reading on YouTube? Yeah. Yes. It's, I mean, it kind of proves like what they say in the videos and what you hear. It looks correct, but obviously we know that it's not. It's bad lip reading. Here, let's see what y'all are saying. Wacky medieval fun time world. Let me see. What school do you go to looks a lot like what ooh. I mean, yeah. The ooh is what's visible. AEIOU. I mean, shoot, there's y'all could see that. It was what school do you go to? Could you see that? No. It's a lot more complicated than that. There's what me and my students like to do, I think it's ASL 3 or 4, I will have them make their own bad lip reading, and they have to like try to guess what the people in the videos are saying. And it's wild. It's never anything correct. So, especially whenever you're communicating with people in the deaf community, do not rely on lip reading. Try to either have gestures or whatever signs you know. Even writing things down is better than just lip reading. Go ahead. Not all deaf people know sign language. Okay. Sorry, I'm missing like half your messages. I'm so sorry. I'm going to keep that open. Yeah. Okay, you are all correct. This is a fact. Not every deaf person uses a signed language. There are multiple different modes of communications that are used as well. So what I teach American Sign Language. This is in its own right a language. It has its own grammar structure. It has its own syntax, its own concepts, idioms, all of this stuff. It's very, very complex. But there's also other forms of signed communication, such as signed English, which is basically where you take English and you just put it on the hands. Or there's even different types of signed English. There's signed exact English 2. I'm not even joking. That's a thing. Number 2. Like they made a sequel. They have, what is it? Pidgin signed English, which is like a mix. So there's lots of different ways people communicate. It's not always just sign language, or ASL. Whenever let me see the precise done. I'm in the courtroom. I'm so sorry. I don't understand. Exactly, it's the 1 and 2. You're good. Let me see. What was I gonna say? No, you're fine. There are lots of different ways to communicate. There's lots of different modes of communication. ASL isn't the only one. Whenever I am doing sign heraldry, I haven't had anybody come up to me yet saying that they need sign, or that they are like they're deaf and they sign. I still use it for reasons I talked about, I think, in the last class. But if I were to have somebody come up to me and tell me, hey, I use signed exact English, then I would try to cater my signs more towards what they need. If that makes sense. All right, go ahead. Deaf people are not allowed to drive. Y'all are correct. This is Cap. Deaf people can drive just as well as hearing people can. In fact, there are some studies that show that deaf people drive better than hearing people, because hearing people are distracted by, their music. They're distracted by talking on the phone. They're distracted by the sound of honking horns, all this stuff, right? Whereas when deaf people drive, many times they are very focused, and not only that, they don't need to rely on the ears, and so they are constantly vigilant. So, who knows? Go ahead. All deafness is genetic. Y'all got this in the bag. I'm not even worried. Go ahead. This is Cap. Only 10% of deaf children are actually born to deaf parents. This means that the majority of deaf children are born to hearing parents. Sometimes the deafness is genetic, but most of the time is caused from complications in the womb, illness, or age. There's lots and lots and lots of different reasons somebody can be deaf. This is actually one of my favorite topics. This right here, that first sentence is like, I swear to you, half of my college career was learning this. 10% of deaf children are born to deaf parents. That means 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents. What do you guys think that means for the deaf children of hearing parents?
You're having to convince them to learn ASL so that their children have communication.
There's that. There's other things. I'm going to wait for, let's see. It's a lot of difficulty in language acquisition skills. That too. I love talking about this, so I will get on my soapbox. Just remind me to get down. Deaf children do not get, they do not get the same treatment as, I mean, I know that's kind of duh, right? Like, a lot of people mistreat. Yes, I understand that, but let me clarify some. A lot of deaf children are not exposed to sign language because their parents are hearing. A lot of deaf children do not get, yes, Asha, you're correct. There's a huge push for oralism. A lot of deaf children do not get the incidental language learning, which is basically like you hear your parent say this and all of a sudden I know that word now. Crazy, right? That's incidental language learning. Deaf children many times don't get that because they're not exposed to sign language like hearing children are exposed to English. Like you said, there is a big push for oralism, Asha. In hospitals, this still happens. I swear it on the Bible. Like, I am being so honest. This still happens. Doctors only tell their patients, they will actively inform their patients that their child is deaf. They need to get this, this, and this to be able to hear again. And oh my god, I just lost my train of thought. Give me a sec. Sorry, guys. Chaotic week, y'all know. Where was I going with that? Doctors will tell their patients, I know this is in the factor cap later. I know it is. Yes, there's a huge push for cochlear implants and hearing aids, absolutely, because they want to fix their deafness. They want to hear them. But they also will tell them that they will struggle with learning English if they learn ASL. This is something that still happens, and it's not true. I gave y'all an answer for the factor cap. I'm so sorry, but it's not true. If you learn English, or if you learn ASL, you are not less likely to be able to learn English. And this is something that doctors push, and it's sickening. And of course, I'm not ever going to blame a parent for wanting their child to use the same mode of communication that they do. But because a lot of the time they're not informed of the correct information, they push for English and they push for curing their child, which is not always the best option. So I'm off my soapbox. Here's how to fix it, not here's how to... Yes, Asha, that. It's a here's how to fix it, not a here are some ways to help your child communicate. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Hearing aids and cochlear implants cure deafness. Your kids will learn to sign that help with learning English. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely, Vanessa. I sucked at spelling. And then since learning ASL and learning how to fingerspell, my spelling has improved tenfold. Okay, go ahead. This is CAP. Hearing aids and cochlear implants do not cure deafness. There are mechanical devices such as hearing aids that can improve hearing, but they can't restore it if it's already gone. Like it's like they're turning the volume up, but if you don't have a CD in the CD player, then nothing is going to happen. Hearing aids only increase volume, not clarity, basically. And cochlear implants can improve hearing, but it will never restore it. And this says may even cause the person to lose any hearing that they once had. That is actually incorrect, because it will cause the person to lose any hearing that they once had. Cochlear implants completely destroy the cilia that are in your cochlea, the little hairs that are in your cochlea, and without those little hairs, you cannot hear anything. So it completely replaces the sound. Also, not everybody can get a cochlear implant. It always depends on, it's like any other medical conditions. It could depend on their age if they're too young. It could depend on their type of hearing loss. So it all depends. Go ahead. All deaf people are quiet and or mute. Y'all are correct. This is very, very not true. They're very loud. Why? Why do y'all think they're loud?
They can't hear
Boom.
themselves.
Yes, Jenna and Asha, y'all got it. They can't hear themselves. Just because you're deaf does not mean your vocal cords stop working. My classroom, as y'all know, I teach ASL, and I have a good amount of the deaf kids from my school like to come in and hang out in my room and just be in a place where they can actually communicate effectively with other people in general, right? And so they'll come in and hang out, and we'll tell them, we'll announce the room. Okay, guys, people are testing. You need to be quiet. All right, thank you guys. Bye. Yeah, good job. And then in the corner, you hear screaming, and I'm like, dude, come on! I just told y'all, please be quiet. And they're like, what? No, it wasn't me. It was him. It was him. I'm like, no, that was you. Don't even lie to me. I know it was you. Be quiet. Like, they do not stop talking. And they don't stop making noise. They are very, very loud. My room is known to be one of the loudest in my hall. Like, it's bad. My hard of hearing professor got into trouble with her deaf parents because the neighbors came to complain about how loud she play and sing to music at night. Yep, that too. Oh, wait for Vanessa. You sure? Okay. The very first thing my ASL teacher said to us in school was, I will clap and yell and bang on things more than anyone you'll ever meet. If you can't handle noise, don't take an ASL class. Yep, absolutely. I know that I get, I have a messaging thing with my students, and one of my students is the classroom under my class whenever third period is happening. And I get texts probably weekly saying, is an elephant up there? Like, bored. Stop. Like, I'm trying to focus. I'm like, I'm sorry, but no, that's not happening. So it gets super, super loud in my class. Okay. Lawrence. he went to go feed our puppy. So give me just a second while I click on his computer. Oh, can I? I'm connected. Y'all see the cord? Boom. Okay. So deaf people are just as intelligent as hearing people. What are you? Oh my gosh. Yes, this is very, very true. Go ahead and click next, Lawrence. This is fact. Deaf people can do anything a hearing person can do other than hear. With the right education and the right communication access, a deaf person can learn and be successful in school just like a normal. You see my air quotes. Please do not misunderstand me. A quote unquote normal hearing person. Again, this kind of relates back to the right education and the right communication access. A lot of hearing parents choose not to learn sign language for their child. A lot of hearing parents choose not to put their child in the kind of classroom that they need to be successful because they want their child to be normal. They want their child to fit in with the hearing world. So many deaf people don't get that kind of thing, and it's unfortunate, but they are provided everything the same, everything that they need. They are just as successful, just as smart, as intelligent as hearing people. Go ahead. Everyone with hearing loss is considered deaf. Good. Yes, this is cap. There are different levels and ranges of hearing loss. Being deaf is also an identity. So, I'll hold on to clarifying on that one for later. But being deaf is something that a lot of people are very proud of. So if you consider yourself, you are labeled deaf, then this is something that you are in the community. You belong to this deaf world. And a lot of people are really, really proud of that. But there's also, hard of hearing. There's, somebody could have hearing in one ear, but no hearing in the other ear. They could have a fluctuating audiograph. Like, it's crazy. It's a whole range. I saw someone say that it isn't losing hearing, it's gaining deafness. Yes, that's called deaf gain. Yes, absolutely. Deaf gain is like, I'm not losing anything. I'm gaining access to this culture, this community, this amazing language, and I think that's really cool. But, right, because it's so tied to communication that it's a cultural identity. That. All right, go ahead and click next. Deaf people don't use Braille. Okay. Yep, go ahead and click next. This is fact. Braille is for the blind. If you are just deaf, you do not use Braille. But, exactly. It depends. Yeah, it also depends if they ever learned. If they did, awesome. But normally, oh, you're so right. Sorry. Deaf people can't learn. What am I thinking? No, please don't take that seriously. Don't take that out of context. Yes, deaf blind. If they are deaf blind, they absolutely can use Braille. They can also use contact sign, which is, wait, am I thinking that right? Yeah, it's contact sign. I had to think about the name. Where they sign into a hand, or like somebody's hand is guided to stay with theirs while they sign. Yeah, that's all. Oh, yeah, yep, that's a good point. I had a teacher, mind you, he was not a good teacher, but he was deaf, and I got a story out of him, so it's good. And he told me about how he would go into restaurants, and the waitress would be like, oh, and they'd look at his friends rather than him. First of all, they'd look at his friends. Oh, he's deaf. They're like, yeah. And so she'd be like, oh, okay. And she'd go to the back and very well meaning. And then she'd bring him and she'd guide his hand. Here you go. Ma'am. What? She would give him a braille menu. Like, what am I going to use this for? You're good. Deaf people prefer to be called hearing impaired or disabled. That is very, very true. Sorry, not to this. I meant to, yeah. So, Kat, you guys are right. Hearing impaired and disabled often make the community feel like there's something wrong or broken with them. Most people who are deaf just prefer to be called deaf. Please note that everybody has a preference with this. You may meet somebody who's like, I don't really care, or somebody who's strictly, no, I am not deaf. I am this. And whatever they would like to be labeled as, please use that. We don't want to be offending anybody. We don't want to be, assuming anything. But most of the time, hearing impaired is considering very like sticky. Like we don't use that term. Like I said, it implies that something's wrong with them or broken. A lot of the time, whenever a deaf baby is born, the doctor will bring their baby over and they'll say, I'm so sorry, but your child is hearing impaired. I get it. I understand. But if the parent is deaf, why are you sorry? Especially if the parent is deaf. Like, are you kidding me? You're saying something that's wrong with them, so is something wrong with me too? Like, are you sorry that I'm deaf? That's not something that is typically like kind of tolerated. It's something that feels very, very gross. It feels very icky. It's just not something we want to do. If you ever come to a deaf person, you could say, hey, are you deaf? Are you hard of hearing? And they will tell you what they are. There is a difference between little d and big D deaf. And then it clarifies underneath deaf and deaf. Good. Yes, this is true. This is fact. Little d deaf means that the person is medically deaf. So it just means that, boom, slapped you with a label. You are deaf. Congratulations. Like, that's all it is. You go to the doctor and they tell you that you can't hear. You are little d deaf. Then there is big D deaf, which basically means that you are immersed in the deaf community. Somewhere out there, let me do a little bit of research because I know I have this photo somewhere. Deaf community. Here, in the meantime, Lawrence, could you read that for me? Oh, the message?
So, Hugbun Spork says, several thoughts previous. So typing, you're good. There's a lot of ignorance. When I was 17 at my first job, I get a call. I started, hi, my name is blah, and I'm calling with, and I said, no, thank you, and hung up and go to the telemarketer regarding calling a business like several times. Turns out they have phone services related, and I had never learned about that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There was recently, whenever I was calling for I was calling the Texas School for the Deaf, and I've never called a deaf business before or anything like that. And I called them, and I had to speak with an interpreter who on the other end was talking, and they had a video phone going up on their end. So whatever I said, they interpreted into sign language for the video on Texas School for the Deaf's end. And then whatever Texas School for the Deaf signed, the interpreter said into the phone. And it's so interesting how that works. But yeah, it was also intimidating. It was like, oh, okay, hold on. And I was like, had to reset my brain on how deafness works and how to even interact with the deaf community. Okay, I can't find this diagram. Maybe I'll make it for y'all, but basically it is a diagram depicting like who is considered in the deaf community versus just deaf, right? And you can be deaf but not be big D deaf. However, you cannot be big D deaf without being little d deaf. Okay, so you have to be medically deaf in order to be capital D deaf. I know it's kind of like this is a rectangle but not a square, and this square, but I hope you guys understand. It's, yeah, you have to be actually deaf to be deaf. Does that make sense? Okay. Go ahead. Deaf people like music. Yes. This is fact. Especially the younger deaf community has really started enjoying music. So deaf is little. Yes. What Jenna said. Little or capital D deaf is like a little circle inside of a bigger circle that is little d deaf. But yes, the deaf community has really started enjoying music, especially with AirPods, headphones kind of thing. At concerts, they can put their hands on or get closer up to the stage to feel the beat through the speakers. I used to have a friend, her name was Alessandra, and she loved going to concerts. It was her favorite thing. She would never shut up about it. And she would talk to me about how she'd be going to this one this weekend, and then the next weekend she's going to another one. And it was crazy, but every single time I was always so impressed because she, every single time she went out to a venue, she would request to be seated near the stage or near the speakers and have an ASL interpreter at the event. And she was such an advocate for herself and for other deafies in the crowd. But there's ASL interpreters that enjoy interpreting music. I tell my kids that if I could do that, if I could quit my job and do that for the rest of my life, I would. Don't tell them it's a lie. I love my job. But I do really, really love interpreting music. And it's a lot of, maybe one day we'll get there. But yeah. Deaf people can learn to speak. Very true. Go ahead. This is a fact. Deaf people can learn to speak, and some prefer to speak. It all depends on the person, their age, and the person's identity. Most deaf people do not prefer to speak. Please note that this is capital D deaf. Most capital D deaf people do not prefer to speak. They prefer to dive into the culture and the language. I have a few students who only speak or who rely on speech and then support it with sign, but a lot of the times they prefer sign. All hearing loss is the same. We kind of touched on this one earlier. Good. This is CAP. So there are multiple types of hearing losses. CAP and yes. There are multiple types of hearing losses. There are 3 types of hearing losses. Hold on, I gotta throw myself back for a second. There are 3 types. There is sensory neural. Yeah, sorry. Whew. It's been a minute since I talked about this. There is sensory neural hearing loss, which is a hearing loss from the inside of the ear. There is a conductive hearing loss, which stems from the outer ear, so the middle ear out, and the mixed hearing loss, which is both of them mixed, combined. There are also multiple levels and severity of hearing losses. There's 5 different levels. There's, mild, moderate, profound, severe, like there's a whole lot. So there's all sorts of hearing losses that you can get. Go ahead. Hearing loss can't be reversed. Okay. This is both. This is fact and cap. This is a trick question. Some types of hearing losses can be reversed and fixed. Other types are permanent. I'm so sorry. For example, let's see. There is one type of hearing loss where it's simply because a buildup of earwax on the inside of your ear near the eardrum. And this is going to get a little bit graphic, but it's not too bad. It basically builds up a whole lot, and it basically causes a wall, and it hardens there. And so they have to go in and remove all of that earwax. Yeah, exactly. They said my granddad had that. And so they have to go in and remove all the earwax. But yes, it is horrifying looking. Oh, it's so cool though. I love making my ASL2 squirm because this is when they learn about all this, and they're like, "Oh, it's the best thing ever." But yes, there's some that can, others that cannot, and it really just depends. All deaf people want their hearing back. Good, y'all are getting it. This is Cap. Most deaf people do not want their hearing back or wouldn't want to be hearing at all. They're happy as they are and do not feel like they need to be fixed or changed. This comes back to, I'm not losing my hearing. It's not a hearing loss, but I'm gaining deafness. It's and a lot of people consider, like, why would I want it? Like, I've never had it before. I don't need it. I'm okay. I was gonna relate that back to something and I forgot what it was, but it's okay. I'll wait for Vanessa. All right, I'll see you later. Go ahead. Deaf people don't want deaf babies. Good. This is Cap. Most deaf people want babies with the same life experiences as them. It kind of relates back to so like if I'm hearing, I'm not saying this is me personally, but many to most, I would say, hearing people would be upset if their baby was born deaf, and it's not for it's not for lack of understanding. It just comes with a grieving process. You have to get over, like, okay, they're deaf, that means they're never going to hear my voice, that means these people, or these people, my baby can't and so it kind of is the same thing but reversed with in fact, whenever people involved in the deaf community, specifically whenever deafies in the deaf community have a baby, and they are born deaf, it is called passing their deaf test rather than failing their hearing test. And it's like, it's celebrated in the deaf community. It's really, really fun. If y'all ever get the chance to read, what's it called? Oh my gosh, True Biz. I'll put that in the chat. Give me a sec. I'm going to put that in put it in deaf culture. True Biz, and I'll link it later. It is a wonderful, wonderful book. It is, I believe, written by a deaf person, and it is about like the whole deaf culture aspect that comes with, like, in the deaf community, and you get to see like an inside look into all of the nuances and all these really, really cool things. I would highly, highly recommend the book. I've read it myself. It's very good. And not only that, but it also goes into history and culture and how to sign things in between chapters. It's so cool. But most deaf people want babies with the same life experiences. And so whenever they're hearing, just like if a hearing person had a deaf baby, they kind of go through that grieving process. And it's really, really interesting. It's sad, but it's interesting. Hearing children of deaf adults often interpret for their families. Yes. Go ahead. Y'all are all correct. This is fact. Unfortunately, it is true. A lot of hearing children are put into this position. So I don't know if this is in the PowerPoint later, but I'm going to say it anyways. Children of deaf adults are also known as CODAs. You might know of this term from the movie, or is it a show, CODA? I think it's a movie, right? Is it a movie or a show? I haven't actually seen it. It's probably bad. But it's a movie called Coda. Thank you, Lawrence. I've heard that it's really good. I'm never going to be able to show it in the classroom because I've also heard that it's not school appropriate. But a lot of hearing children are put into this position of, a lot of CODAs are put into the position of playing interpreter, and it's really not fair. It's not a good position to be put into because, as a deaf person, they deserve a good interpreter. They deserve somebody to be able to communicate and help them facilitate that communication. But not only that, it's also not good for the child because it really, excuse my French, it fucks you up. Like, what the heck? I've heard lots of stories. There's one movie, what is it called? Is it Sound and Fury? Lawrence, you would know. Yeah, that one. Oh, I don't remember it. I'll have to tell you all about it later. There's a movie, and it starts out where it starts out really horribly. I'll read that in a second. But this girl, this hearing daughter of two deaf parents, has to interpret for her little brother's funeral. She has to go and help her parents buy a casket for her little brother because they can't communicate on their own. And it's awful. It's really horrible. But it happened, and it still continues to sometimes happen where these, it may be not in that much of a situation. Yes, Asha, yes, that's it. Her mother worked in a sewing factory. Yes, I don't remember the name of the movie. If you can remember it, put it in the chat. And let's see. I've heard one where this wasn't a movie. This actually happened, where a deaf child had to interpret for her parents' divorce. Yeah. Like, it's never good. Plus, a lot of these big situations, like, you don't have the vocabulary as a child to be able to communicate. Doing your taxes. What is it? I don't even know. W-2? What is that? Like, as a child, I wouldn't have known, and I know these kids wouldn't have known. Yeah, legalese, exactly. And so it's really a rough situation to be putting a child into for both the hearing people involved and the parents involved. But let me see. Movie Coda is great, but my biggest issue with it, they have subtitles so hearing people can know what they're saying and sign, but none for... Oh. But none for what they're talking, or the... Oh. That's gross. Yikes. I don't know if I'm sorry, I didn't finish actually reading it. But none for what the talking people are saying for the deaf community's benefit. That's really gross. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah. Learning sign language as a baby will not stop the baby from learning a spoken language early or later. Hey, they could have just subtitled the whole movie. That's so strange. Good. So, I think you might have mixed it up. No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Hi, Cassian.
I'm so sorry, I forgot about my joint sound.
It's okay. Go ahead, yeah. So this is fact. Just because a hearing or deaf baby learn a sign language does not mean that they cannot learn a spoken language later. And again, this is something that doctors still to this day perpetuate this myth that that is true, and it's not. It's really upsetting. Especially because they're not trained in any of this, and they automatically assume that they need to be fixed, and it just makes me really, really upset for all the people involved that are lied to and that are not tortured, but I can't think of another word for it. You know what I mean? That have to go through struggles that they wouldn't have faced otherwise. That's a better way of putting it. I'm gonna wait for Hug. Yes! Love is for silent! That. That's the movie. Love is Never Silent. That is the movie I was talking about. It's good. Little traumatic, but good. It's super awesome when babies learn sign because they can sign in for diaper. Before they have. Yes, exactly. I know everybody has their little claim to fame with, oh, I signed when I was a baby, and I'm not an exception to that. But I learned, my mom likes to tell me that I learned within the first 2 weeks, I learned like 100, I want to say 120 signs. And this was before I could talk. And the crying that my mom was experiencing, it just stopped. And it's really, really interesting because I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. This is happening so much today. It's really interesting because hearing children, they're applauded and awarded for knowing sign language, but deaf babies many times are not, because you shouldn't learn or you shouldn't learn sign because then you're not going to learn English, and that never happens with hearing children. So why? Anyways, I'm just gonna step off my soapbox because that gets me upset. It's similar to another, like, yes. Bilingual is amazing. Go ahead. There is no benefit to baby sign language. What do you guys think the answer is? Yes, y'all are right. This is Cap. When babies learn sign language at a young age, they can express themselves at an earlier age. Babies can produce signs long before they can produce speech. There is also such thing as babbling in sign language. And it's so freaking cute. Oh my god. There's like little videos of like, I've seen one of these these grandparents signing with their grandbaby, and they're like, "What do you think? Oh, really? Tell me about your day. Wow." And the baby's it's so cute. It's adorable. Oh my gosh. It's so cute. Okay. Go ahead. I think that might be it. Oh, it is. Gasp. Okay. I have one more for y'all. It's not even a fact or cap. It's just a fact. I'm not witty enough to come up with that. So this is just an interesting fact. Y'all know how we said that, you cannot cure deafness, right? So whenever you see those videos online of babies putting their cochlear implants on for the first time, I'm gonna ruin those videos for y'all. Are y'all ready? Because they're supposed to be super, super touching moments. And the baby, oh, it's so sweet. It's so excited to hear its mama. Oh my good. No. I'm so serious. And I'm so sorry to be ruining this for you guys. But that you're that baby is terrified. That baby is so, so scared. Hearing for the first time is so scary because all of a sudden you go from this quiet, absolutely peaceful world to this animatronic, weird, robotic sound. Yes, exactly. What is going on? It's this brand new, yes, Asha, thank you. Brand new sensation beamed directly into your brain. That's exactly what it is. It's terrifying. Yeah. If I started to smell colors, I'd be mightily concerned. Yes, me too. It's really, really scary, and I have lots more fun facts about cochlear implants, and hearing aids and all of that stuff because it interests the heck out of me. But let me see. So those videos. Scary. It's really scary for the baby. That's why it's crying. Not only that, but did y'all know cochlear implants? How much do y'all think their cost? Go ahead and type your guesses. I want to make sure I'm correct in my answer because I don't want to skew these numbers for y'all. Okay. All right, y'all ready for this? Zofia actually pretty much got it. Cochlear implants without insurance can cost between $30,000 and $50,000. Not only that, though, after you get the cochlear implant, in order to actually understand the sounds that you're hearing, because it's, oh, did I freeze? I'm good? Am I okay? Okay, so actually, in order to understand the sounds that you're hearing through a cochlear me too, Asha. In order to understand the sounds that you're hearing, you have to go to years and years of speech and hearing therapy, and the it's if that one costs a leg and an arm in itself. I think cochlear implants are super interesting. And I mean, I'm going to let y'all form your own opinions about them. I say with mild, non-biased voice. I'm going to try to let y'all form your own opinions about them. But they cost like $50,000, and then you have to go to years of therapy afterwards. So all those videos that you see of like them turning them on, they're probably not staying on for long either, because they turn them back off. That's like the initial like test after they do the surgery and all the other stuff involved. It's a lot. It's kind of crazy, everything that goes into it. But I think that's all I have. Do y'all have any questions? Because I just dumped like a whole bunch on y'all. It was mostly pretty straightforward.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to tell you that I know a little bit about the costs and how you have to go to years of therapy to hear the sounds because you have to know what type of hissing means S and what type of hissing means M is what I heard when I was in high school taking a community class. Cochlear implants were new, and there were teenagers close to my age deciding if they wanted to go ahead and get them. And as far as I know, some did and some didn't, but I'm not still in touch with any of them.
Yeah. There's a movie And this is the one that I mentioned earlier, and it kind of relates to this. It's called Sound and Fury. And y'all like drama, like TV show drama? Because this is like eat it up because it's crazy. This deaf family. Oh, let me see if I can explain this right. There's a mother and a husband, mother and a father. Why did I struggle there? Mother and a father, and they are both deaf, and they have 2 deaf babies. The wife's sister, she is hearing, married to a hearing husband, and has a deaf baby. Their parents are both also deaf. So it's clearly somewhat genetic. But these two are very, very, like, they are delving down into the deaf community, and they are very, very proud to be deaf. But their daughter wants a cochlear implant. This group right here, hearing and with the deaf child, they want to give their child, their son, a cochlear implant. And it's super, super interesting seeing each group's perspective on it, because the grandparents have something to say, this group has something to say, this group has something to say from the hearing perspective, and it's crazy, like reality TV. It's insane. It's really, really a good movie to watch if y'all are interested. I'll put that one in there too. It's called Sound and oh gosh, I'm freezing. Yeah, I'm freezing. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh gosh, my computer is frozen. I'm so sorry, y'all. Hold on. It's like it's not doing anything. Alt tab. Oh, hi guys. Okay. I'll put it in there later. Sound and Fury is really, really good. Let's see. Yes, I went to some deaf events, and my teacher said, say hi and say things like, that's funny. That's a funny show. So I was walking around and waving and signing hi, funny, and people nodded and had zero desire to chat, which is totally fine. Thank you. I appreciate you, Jenna. But what's a good way to say hi without being that hearing person? That's a great question. This is something that I still struggle with because I'm an anxiety-ridden woman. I struggle with anxiety often. And so approaching even a hearing person stresses me out. But I would come up to them. I would wave hi, and I would maybe say like, "Do you mind chat? You're deaf, right?" That kind of thing. Cass, did you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I have input from some deaf acquaintances because I had the same question when I was learning ASL in high school. It's essentially like if it wouldn't be a situation that you wouldn't go up to a hearing person and be like, "Hi, do you want to talk?" Then don't do it to a deaf person,
Yeah.
right? It'd be the same with any other language. Like there's something to be said about like sometimes there's something endearing about like, oh, you know English. I'm learning English. Can I talk to you? Sometimes that's like really fun. It's like, yeah, I'll hold a conversation with you. But a lot of times it's like, I'm in the grocery store. I really just want to get my grocery shopping done and go home. And so like, it's from what I've been told, and this is just a very small subset of like, like this is the opinion of a deaf couple. But if it's in a situation where you're expected to talk, right? So if you're at like a community event where it's like generally expected and okay to like sit down and talk with people, right? Go ham, right? If you're at like a farmer's market, or you're at like a I don't know, like a community garden night or something where you're expected to talk to people, That's fine. Go ahead. Try it out. Their hands move really fast, but you'll be able to pick up something. But if it's like at the grocery store, or like you have to like cross a busy street and stop them while they're walking, or any of the things that you wouldn't do normally, just don't do. That was the advice I got.
It's good advice. I once was at a museum and I saw it was so cute. It was a dad and a daughter and they were signing with each other. And I love it so much. And I was like foaming at the mouth, and I'm like, no, that's strange. That's not normal.
Yeah. And it's tough, especially like I think I've experienced this with a lot of languages. It's like, oh, that's something I learned. I have unlocked a new means of doing what humans were made to do. Humans were made to communicate. Like that's the biggest thing that separates us from a whole bunch of other stuff, is we have like the complexity of like language to this degree. And so unlocking a new language is like, oh, holy fucking shit. And it's very exciting. But like, you know, it's also like hard to remember all of the other stuff about being a human. Like, don't approach strangers, and you know, like if a strange person approaches you in a setting where they shouldn't, you should be wary, and you know, da 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 da.
Yep. All that. Absolutely agree. That's good advice. Are there
I
any
also
other
do the
questions
yay
before
all the
we? I
time.
know. Yep. I do love
Which I
Lego
have to then
hands.
explain. There's a lot of people who are like, "Why are you going like this?" And I'm like, "No, no, no. This means clap. This means yay. This
Yeah.
I'm sorry."
I love it. Do we have any other questions before we adjourn? Say we adjourn. I don't. What kind of meeting are we in?
Recess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. Try not to run with scissors.
Debatable.
Be safe. Have a good weekend. All right. Thank you all so much. Oh, guess question.
I think the question was.
Oh, you might run with
might run.
scissors?
Yeah.
Don't. Alrighty, then I'm gonna call it a night. Thank y'all so much for joining us. I will see y'all next week. Bye. Okay.